This week I dove into a variety of videos that explore everything from revolutionary shifts in AI-assisted coding and the evolution of data centers in AI and AI powerhouses. So we went a bit beyond just the AI news and a bit more into some of the deeper tech stuff and the hardware side. So let's start with the new era of coding and developer tools. I kick things off by watching conversations on how AI is transforming coding. Guillermo Rauch from Vercel, he's the CEO of Vercel. That was an interesting podcast. He painted a visionary picture of how AI-assisted engineering, where coding isn't just writing lines of code, it's about agents that generate, review, and even refine code. So AI coding agents, AI reviewing agents is something we're looking at and building into our products and making our workflow and deliverables better, because it's not just about coding or vibe coding. Vibe coding is what it's called when you don't know how to code. When you're coding, you're doing agentic coding, or you're developing with a coding assistant effectively, and you become now the reviewer and the expert to check the output. Building on Anthropic's discussion on agentic coding with Claude Code brought fast just how home traditional workflows are evolving. 6 months ago, this wasn't even a conversation. Initially, the whole process started with putting things into ChatGPT or Claude, copying that into your editor and pasting it, then became tab completion through Copilot from GitHub and Microsoft. Then it's turned into having IDEs with coding agents installed, added to them, and then command line tools. And then really that all fits into context engineering, about how good you can get the context right for the code to understand. And there was a few podcasts talking about that. Some things to discuss. AI isn't here to replace developers. While the developers may lose jobs, and a lot of other people will, the AI is here to speed up what the developers are doing and empower them to become sort of superpowered. You may have 10 agents running in the background on a computer working on different branches doing things for you. So you're now empowered to do more, and you may need to get the AI to review it, but then you'll be the one that can do the final sign-off to push it into production and check that what's getting generated is actually okay code. Because you can't just take what these models give you verbatim and use it. It doesn't work like that. There's a big shift in the industry to spec-first development, hence the reason DevReady AI exists. Design your product first, put it into the tool, get a proper thing built based on spec, and it gets it right the first time. That's the whole point of the DevReady methodology, philosophy, and the point of the DevReady AI system. Keep your eyes and ears peeled for the DevReady AI release that we'll be doing over the few months. With the direction we're heading, it's really exciting. Reinventing infrastructure, AI data centers, and Oracle's bold move. Next, I explored how traditional data centers are making way for new age AI powerhouses. There was a video on data centers which explained what the difference between a normal traditional data center is and AI data center. The AI data centers are very different. On a traditional data center, it's all about latency. So how fast can you get that information served to a client? On an AI data center, it's not about that. It's about how efficient and how much power you can get into the data center in a small amount of space, and how much power it can run, and then how fast you can cool it so it can run more and last longer. That's the biggest problem. It's very different approach, a different methodology. And in one of the videos, they discussed that there was a Facebook data center that was being built somewhere. And then once ChatGPT was released, effectively, they destroyed 50% progress built data center to build a new AI powered data center, which is a completely different configuration and infrastructure based on its own needs and how it's meant to work. There's a lot more compute density, so you have to try and get as much compute in there as possible, because that's where the inference happens, and the inference is when you actually query the trained model to get responses. And then there's also cooling innovation, so using water to cool because it's better heat conductivity than normal fans. And then the huge power requirements. So Microsoft has contacted, I think, the owner of 3 Mile Island in New York, which was where there was a small meltdown in the 70s or 80s, I don't know exactly. It's the nuclear power plant shown at the end of the second Wolverine movie with the really weird original Deadpool that has his mouth shut, and they're fighting on top of the nuclear reactor at 3 Mile Island. But there's apparently one reactor that's still working, and Microsoft is working to acquire that or lease it. And then there's these huge, impressive energy producing facilities that are coming out, that they're being connected directly to these data centers and they're being deployed right next to them, because that's going to be the biggest thing that holds them back, is how much data they can have to run these things. And I think pretty soon that the AI, these big tech companies that are running these AI data centers are going to be the largest producers and consumers of energy in the US. And apparently the data center build is outpacing China's ridiculously, where China has outpaced America in energy production. So it's all interesting, that space. It's really something that didn't understand the details of what the AI data centers were. I thought it was traditional data centers, but it's really important to understand that that energy usage is going to be really different. And there's even a lot of talks about data centers being rolled out into Australia everywhere as well. And then Oracle, once originally known for its databases, is reinventing itself as an AI-driven cloud compute leader. The Generation 2 cloud infrastructure enhanced by cutting-edge networks and huge data moat is positioning them as a serious competitor in the AI space. That's what this video was claiming, and whoever was talking to them is claiming, but I don't hear much about Oracle online. I know they're enterprise focus only, but you don't really hear much about them ever at all. I don't think I've heard much from them since they tried to sue Google about the API copyright infringement case from years ago. Apple, industry shifts and major announcements for Google, OpenAI, Apple, and more. There's been a whirlwind of activity in the broader tech landscape. Google is back in the spotlight with breakthroughs in its multimodal AI and launching an autonomous coding agent nicknamed Jules. So that's their version of a GitHub CLI or an OpenAI codex. They also had some legal victories. So there was an antitrust law case in America about Google's monopoly on search using Google Chrome. People were worried that they were going to be forced to sell Google Chrome. That didn't go ahead, and then there's nothing there allowed to keep it, which was the ideal use case for them. That means that that whole scenario is going to stay. That's going to be probably their key to driving more UI, since there's a lot of things happening in the UI space with agentic browsing and having an agent inside your browser controlling things, where we saw from Perplexity's release their own browser, Claude has their browser extension, but Google has the ability where they can roll out an update, and it's now available to 2 billion Chrome users on day one. Google is also allowed to continue paying Apple to be the preferred default search provider on all iOS devices. Again, if that happens, they can make that iOS homepage have something with Gemini and take off more user base and hit all of their deployed users as well. And then there was another video talking about the rise of AI with Google. They sort of invented the technology, shelved it. Their first version of Google Bard, if you remember that name, took me a while to remember it during the week, was shit, really. And now they're like leading the industry with what they're doing in multimodal video, audio, voice, and their other models are amazing as well. They're at the top of all the benchmarks. OpenAI has seen internal shifts too, along with heated controversies. One video argued that ChatGPT's personality has been tamed by post-training HR manual, so it's trying to just appease everyone based on political correctness and not do what it's supposed to do, too many safeguards, etc. I haven't experienced that. I don't work with it that way. It's more instructional research. So I'm very methodical, robotic in what I get it to do. There's also talk that GPT-6 will come out sooner than expected based on the GPT-4 to 5 timeline. So they'll try and do probably faster releases, but I think people expect big leaps when the number changes, major numbers, 4 to 5, 5 to 6. When you do the incremental numbers, people's perception of what they're expecting the models to do is different. So we'll have to understand what GPT-6 means, because people may think it's super intelligence or artificial general intelligence, but we're not there yet at that. Social impact and the employee trust in the age of AI. Not everything is a technical breakthrough and market moves. A couple of videos explore the human side of AI's rapid integration into our lives. One video I watched highlighted how employees are increasingly distrusting of their company's AI strategy due to insufficient training and concerns over this job displacement. So people don't trust the AI that's being brought into the companies. One, because it doesn't perform as good. If you're stuck with Microsoft Copilot, you may not be happy with it. And then your shadow AI economy, which is what you do at home or outside of your work hours on your own personal devices, using ChatGPT gives you better results. But then people also don't like the AI if they're helping train it, because it'll remove their job. There was a case I heard about yesterday of an employee at Commonwealth Bank in Australia. They'd been with Commonwealth Bank for 25 years. She was training and providing instructions and prompts and evaluating the outputs from the models. And then she was made redundant because they no longer needed her role because the AI could do it. So that's an actual dedicated case of what's happened, and it's explicitly been told like that way. So there is quite a lot of concern from people about that. And that's more probably going towards the organization you're working with and what they're thinking about their approach and strategy to the AI world is. Do we use AI to cut costs and reduce headcount? Or do we use it to empower everyone and provide more value and grow faster using the same amount of people and get more work done? Because that's the model I prefer, and that's where I think you should go. Equally concerning is a discussion around AI psychosis, where persistent interactions with chatbots have allegedly led to extreme behaviors and mental health issues. There's one certain law case where a boy, I believe he was 16, I may have gotten that wrong, eventually committed suicide after talking to ChatGPT, getting it to imagine it was doing things, but it eventually helped him and explained how to do things and went along with his concept and idea. So OpenAI is currently being sued by their family, so that's something to worry about. But in that whole discussion, there are people with mental health issues, and there were people with mental health issues before these tools came around. But if these tools allow them or empower them to go down that path and further dive deep into their psychosis or mental health issues and further into depression, that's something that you have to concern yourself about. And that is part of that HRification of these models and what they allow you to do versus what we talked about with Anthropic a couple of weeks ago, where they had the AI could just cancel a conversation. Who's making that decision? When does it happen? Why is that happening? How do you restrict it? There's so much there to unpack that no one's going to get the right answer, and we're going to be dealing with this for years to come, I believe. Debating the future of AI, scaling ethics, and the next platform shift. Lastly, it was really fascinating to hear from the likes of Yann LeCun and Marc Andreessen as they debated the future of AI. LeCun made a strong case that simply scaling existing models won't lead us to AGI. He said it's ridiculous thinking if you think that what we're doing now will take us to what that breakthrough of artificial general intelligence is. Once again, everyone has a different term for that. I don't know what it means or what I believe it to mean either. Is it thinking on their own? Is it things that are being creative and trying things new that we can't do, rather than just putting together pattern recognition matching from existing content? I don't know. They said they really need breakthroughs in common sense reasoning and persistent memory and planning. And then somewhat related note, Marc Andreessen discussed why Apple's measured, sometimes cautious approach might actually put it at risk of missing the next platform shift. So everyone is saying that Apple has done not much in what they've been doing. It's very quiet. There've been a lot of actually AI company acquisitions. One video was reporting based on what they were looking at. I think it was 30 AI companies they acquired last year. I think it's this year. They've been acquiring companies that help reduce models so they can run on device rather than in the cloud. They were saying that their privacy is their super weapon, so everything will happen on the device. You'll have context about all what you're doing. We're baked into the operating system at every layer, so it'll just work better once they decide to move forward with it. And apparently this talks about Apple making deals with Google to run Gemini as the backend for Siri, so you'll actually start getting a smart assistant rather than what it's doing. There are other people inside of Apple saying that they should be working on their own models instead of that. There was rumors about Apple buying Perplexity instead, so there's all this stuff up in the air. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't think there's any company in the world that has more cash than Apple to go and just buy anyone. No, they could buy Anthropic, OpenAI probably won't, but they could. So I'm not sure what that's going to mean, what they're looking like, what the direction they're going, but there was this huge push on their developer conference last year when they released the new iOS, all these AI features. Things were delayed, things still don't work the way they're supposed to, so it's really up in the air what they're doing and how they're going, but will they miss the whole AI boom? I don't think so. They're just probably running from behind. They'll make a couple of smart moves, buy something, and then move forward with it, and then they'll be back in the running. But it's interesting. I don't know. Closing thoughts. Whether it's the transformative evolution in coding practices powered by AI, the re-engineering of data centers, the fierce strategic battles among giants like Google, Oracle, and Apple, it's clear that we're living through an incredible dynamic period in tech. I haven't seen anything move this fast in the 20 years that I've been in the industry, plus the years before that where I was just interested in it in general. The pace of news and content is ridiculous. There are so many things happening, so many tools. It's unbelievable. The reason I think this bubble, as people have been talking, differs to previous ones is the amount of investment and infrastructure that is being put into this, that it has value and will continue to have value, is very different to everything going into blockchain because it's a quick buck, or mobile phones and inventing things, and then going to the .com where everything was an app, a website, and the ridiculous amount of money were being invested into these websites being overvalued. These companies are maybe overvalued and they're running at losses, but they're making these huge investments that will take years to come back. But the capital expenditure investments they need to do now, otherwise they'll fall behind. You don't spend hundreds and hundreds of millions and billions of dollars on data centers and training and all these things, and then have a bubble. Like, they're funding infrastructure and doing things that needs to get done. If they don't get that money, it's not going to happen. So the money is going into it for that reason. It's not just making a company seem more profitable than it is. These insights not only help us understand where the industry is headed, but they also pose a critical questions about responsibility, innovation, and broader societal impact in our digital future. Thanks for watching. As usual, let me know in the comments if you've got any ideas or feedback or any discussion around anything that I've talked about today. As usual, I'd love to hear any feedback. If there's anything I can do better to make this more engaging or share this. If you didn't know, this was an AI generated script that I'm reading about all the content that I've watched and consumed this week on AI. I share this with my team internally so they don't have to keep up with everything, and then I might as well share it with you guys on the internet and YouTube and whoever else sees it. And until next week, good luck keeping up with everything.